Title: Nobody showed up at the old woman's birthday party. Months later, her children were shocked by the surprise in the will. In a quiet town nestled between rolling hills and shadowed forests, an old, ivy-covered house stood at the end of Maple Lane. The house belonged to Evelyn Whitlock, a frail but sharp-witted woman in her 80s, who had spent most of her life there. Evelyn wasn't always alone. Once, she had a family that filled her home with laughter, love, and life. She had 3 children: Gregory, the eldest, a serious businessman who lived in a sprawling city far away; Clara, the middle child, an artist who moved to the coast to paint the sunsets; and Michael, the youngest, who had become a lawyer in a nearby town but rarely visited. As the years passed, Evelyn watched her children drift away, their lives consumed by their careers, relationships, and busy schedules. Yet, Evelyn remained hopeful. Her birthday was approaching, her 85th, and she had planned a small but meaningful celebration, a dinner with her children. She sent out invitations weeks in advance, calling each of them personally to ensure they remembered. Each time, they assured her they would attend. Evelyn could already picture it: a warm evening, the clink of glasses, soft laughter, and her children, back in her home again. But when the day came, the house was silent. Evelyn dressed in her best, a floral dress she hadn't worn in years. The dining table was set with her finest china, and a cake sat in the center, its candles unlit. She waited. Minutes turned into hours. Outside, the late autumn sun dipped beneath the horizon, casting long shadows that crept across the empty chairs. No one came. At first, Evelyn tried to reason with herself. Perhaps there was traffic or some last-minute complication. But as the night stretched on, the silence became unbearable. She checked her phone repeatedly: no missed calls, no messages. The food grew cold, the cake remained untouched, and Evelyn's heart, heavy with disappointment, slowly broke. She finally blew out the candles herself, whispering her birthday wish into the empty room. But it wasn't a wish for herself but for her children. She hoped they were happy, wherever they were. After that night, something changed in Evelyn. She no longer had the energy to keep waiting, hoping for phone calls or surprise visits. Her routine became simpler: grocery shopping, tending to her small garden, and walking to the park, where she would sit on a bench and watch the world pass by. Occasionally, neighbors would wave or stop for a brief chat, but Evelyn kept her true feelings hidden. She had always been a proud woman, and admitting how alone she felt was too painful. Meanwhile, her children went on with their lives, unaware of the deep wound they had left. Gregory was buried in work, traveling across continents for business deals. Clara had an upcoming art show, her focus entirely on her exhibition. Michael had just taken on a massive case, and the pressures of the courtroom consumed his every thought. To them, their mother was just a phone call away, a call they could always make tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. One particularly chilly evening, as Evelyn sat by the window staring out into the fading light, she felt an odd sensation, an overwhelming exhaustion, one she couldn't shake. She laid down for a rest, thinking she would feel better after a short nap. But as she closed her eyes, she knew, deep down, that she was slipping away. The next morning, Evelyn Whitlock was found by her neighbor, who had noticed her newspapers piling up on the porch. The town mourned her passing, but it was a quiet mourning, as Evelyn had kept to herself in her final months. Her children were notified immediately. The news came as a shock to Gregory, Clara, and Michael. Each of them, in their respective lives, felt an immense wave of guilt. They hadn't been there, not for her birthday, not for her final moments. And now, it was too late. The three siblings returned to the house they once called home, now filled with memories and silence. The day of the funeral was somber, with a small gathering of neighbors and distant relatives. But the real tension came afterward, during the reading of Evelyn's will. The family's lawyer, Mr. Hargrave, a tall, bespectacled man, greeted them at the old house. He had known Evelyn for many years and had been her confidant after her husband passed away. The siblings gathered in the living room, the same room where their mother had waited for them on her birthday. The air was thick with unresolved emotions, guilt, sorrow, and a hint of bitterness. Mr. Hargrave began reading the will, the usual formalities at first, distributions of personal belongings, small donations to charity, and the like. But then, the room grew still as he came to the final part of the document. "To my dear children," he read aloud, "I have left something special, something that I believe you will find both surprising and valuable, though not in the way you might expect." The siblings exchanged confused glances. What could their mother have left for them? The house? Some family heirloom? Mr. Hargrave cleared his throat and continued. "In the attic of this house, you will find a locked chest. Inside, you will discover the truth about your inheritance. This is not a gift of material wealth, but one of knowledge and memory. It is my final lesson to you all, and I hope you will understand it when the time comes." Intrigued and unsettled, the three siblings made their way to the attic. It was a place they hadn't ventured in years, dusty, filled with forgotten relics of their childhood. In the corner, beneath a layer of dust, they found the chest. It was heavy, its wood worn with age, and a large brass lock secured it shut. Clara, the artist, found the key tucked inside an envelope that had been left on top of the chest. With trembling hands, she unlocked it. Inside, they found letters. Dozens of them. All addressed to each of them, written in their mother's delicate handwriting. Each sibling took their respective letters, feeling a mix of curiosity and dread. These were not ordinary letters, they spanned years, written for birthdays they had missed, holidays they had been absent from, and moments they had forgotten. Gregory's letters were filled with words of love, but also of disappointment. Their mother had always admired his ambition, but she had longed for him to see that success wasn't everything. "I wanted to see you happy," she had written, "but I fear you've become a stranger to your own joy. Please, my son, take a moment to find what truly matters to you. Time is the one thing you can never buy back." Clara's letters were different. Their mother had always supported her artistic dreams, but there was an undercurrent of sadness in her words. "Your paintings are beautiful, my dear," one letter read, "but I miss the way you used to paint with passion. Somewhere along the way, you started painting for others and forgot to paint for yourself." Michael's letters were perhaps the hardest to read. As the youngest, he had always been the one who stayed closest, at least physically. But his letters revealed a deep hurt that he hadn't realized his mother had carried. "You were so close, but you were never really here," one letter began. "You were always rushing, always thinking about the next thing, the next case. I just wanted you to sit with me, to talk with me. You were the one I thought would understand." The letters tore through them, each sentence a reminder of the times they had taken their mother for granted, of the moments they could never get back. The final letter in the chest, however, was addressed to all three of them. "My dear children," it began, "I have left you this not to hurt you, but to help you see what I could not tell you in life. I wanted you to understand the value of time, of presence, of family. I wanted you to know that while I loved you more than words can say, I was often lonely, and I missed you deeply. But I also want you to know that I forgive you. Life has a way of pulling us in different directions, and I understand that. I hope that, with this final gift, you will find your way back to each other, and to the things that truly matter. Don't let time slip away, as it did for us." Tears streamed down their faces as they finished reading. They had been so focused on their own lives, their own successes and failures, that they had forgotten the one person who had always been there for them. Just as they thought the revelations had ended, Mr. Hargrave reappeared in the attic, holding a small envelope. "There's one more thing," he said, handing it to Gregory, the eldest. Inside was a deed to the house. But it wasn't what they expected. Their mother had not left the house to them. Instead, she had left it to a local charity, one that provided housing for the elderly who had no family to care for them. The house that had once been filled with their childhood memories would now be a sanctuary for those who had no one. She wanted to give others what she didn't have in her final years, Mr. Hargrave explained. A sense of belonging, a place to call home. The siblings were stunned. This was the true inheritance, the realization that they had failed their mother in her time of need, and now, through her final act of kindness, she was helping others in the way they had not helped her. The weight of their guilt was crushing, but there was also a glimmer of hope. Their mother had forgiven them, and she had given them one last chance to make things right, not with her, but with each other. In the weeks that followed, the siblings found themselves coming back to the old house, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to reconnect. They started talking more, sharing memories of their mother, and slowly rebuilding the bonds they had neglected for so long. Gregory took a step back from his relentless work schedule, realizing that success meant nothing without family to share it with. Clara began painting again, but this time, she painted for herself, for her mother, and for the memories they had shared. Michael, the one who had been closest yet farthest away, finally slowed down. He took time off from work, spending more days with his siblings, and began volunteering at the charity their mother had supported. The house on Maple Lane, once filled with loneliness, became a place of healing, not just for the elderly residents who moved in, but for the Whitlock siblings as well. As they stood together in the garden one evening, watching the sunset, Clara capturing its colors on canvas, Gregory smiling at the simplicity of the moment, and Michael feeling, for the first time, truly present, they realized that their mother's final gift wasn't just a lesson. It was a second chance. And this time, they wouldn't waste it. The end.